Hey everyone, Riyaz here with 3D Crystal and Cockpit 3D. And today again, I'm pleased to have Lawrence Sandler with me. We're gonna pick it up exactly where we left off last time, Lawrence. Now, you were talking about, the success of your entrance into the 3D Crystal business. We were talking about how there's different stages of closing a customer, from getting them to stop at your store, getting them to interact with the product, and then of course getting them to actually convert over and buy. And that's the interesting point there, because you had also mentioned your 30-minute lineup, and of course everybody would love to have a lineup of people waiting for their product. So I actually want to talk a little bit more about that, okay? But before we do, I want to take it back to when you were first setting up your shop. So you get into this business. Of course, there are people that are maybe a little nervous. They're starting a business for the first time. They don't know what to expect. So I just want to go through, maybe you can walk us through your emotions. You set up your shop, and what was it that was going through your mind that first day when you actually had to open up?
Yeah. So, having worked for a big private sector company my whole career, this was definitely different. I'm a one-man band now. I am it. I don't work for anybody else but me. So that was a bit daunting unto itself. And also, if you recall, I had a couple of weeks to get everything ready to catch Christmas. So you and I spoke in November, and I literally had a few weeks to get everything in place. Maybe that was a good thing, because it was such a fire drill that I didn't have time to think about how scared I actually was. And I was, there's no doubt. Is my payment device going to work? Credit card and debit card payments. I am not good at mental math. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. So I'm making make change properly. You told me to get a cash box, which I'm glad I did, because there was a lot of cash business. And just, is it going to sell? I've always been on salary where, I just show up, I get paid. In fact, you get paid when you're sick. So, is it actually going to sell? Am I going to be able to do this? So there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
So you set up your store. Do you remember your first customer?
I do. And I remember what it was. It was a dog. And it was nice to see that customer a year later, the next Christmas, to come buy from me. So that was quite nice. I absolutely remember. I guess you always remember your first, right?
It's interesting that you're mentioning, that the first customer was one that purchased the 3D Crystal of a dog. This just further emphasizes the point of how much volume really is attributed to people's pets and to their loved animals that they have, whether it's dogs or cats. I've even done a shark, a 3D shark. So yeah, all kinds of things.
I've done a pet pig.
Oh, you have? Okay.
I have.
So okay, so now let's take it to you started up your shop. Obviously, you've done really well from whatever nerves you had at the beginning to now. Your confidence grew over time. I've seen this. I've seen your awesome volume, every week. And what we really want to share with those that are watching this right now, as more perhaps as a soundbite, is how is it that you're able to, number one, get people to stop? Because that's challenge number one. They're walking, they're zooming by the arteries in the mall, and to get them to stop is you literally have like maybe 1.5 to 2 seconds. And then two, how are you able to get them to interact? And finally, number three, to wait, eventually pay and convert over.
Sure. So let me try to paint the picture. I'm in a retail store setting where there's a lot of foot traffic, and there's a lot of different vendors set up. I'm fortunate enough to be on a corner, which definitely helps for cross traffic. And I purposely set up my store in a different way. Unlike a jeweler where there's counters, and basically that's a bit of a divider or a barrier between you and the customer, I put all of my display cases and samples along the back walls, such that the front perimeter was totally wide open and inviting, and done by design, where I'm sitting in the back corner unassumingly at my desk with my laptop, and I have a projector shining whatever I'm doing at my discretion on a little screen. And in addition to that, I have a couple display posts, which are right in the front that grab people's attention, that are self-illuminated. And as well, I have an electric fireplace with a beautiful wood mantle and stonework, and it's going. So there's a warm, inviting feeling So the optics are there that you'll want to come in. So to answer your question, what makes them want to come in? It's easy to come in, and what makes them want to stay? It's comfortable. There's a little fireplace going. I've got some good artwork. It's a lifestyle type situation. Go ahead.
Let me pause there for just one quick second. So I want to reiterate this to everyone that's watching here is that he said a few things, okay? This is what I want to highlight in what he's just said. Number one is that he has not kept his counters near the front of the store, as would probably be the first intuitive place to put it, right? Because you want people walking down the artery to see your product. Instead, what he's done is he's put the majority of his product are at the back of the store on counters and on the walls. Now, you have also, Lawrence, put maybe talk about how you are the eye catchers and how you're getting them to stop at the front of the store without walking in.
Sure. So two display posts, which are basically people high. I'm not going to mention what they are, but one of them is a famous character that everybody knows, and inevitably people want to take selfies with it. The other one, I put in a famous rock band that just kind of jumps out at you, very well decorated. So that kind of makes people stop right there. So without, they stop in their tracks because they're right in your face when you turn the corner.
Okay, so did you hear that? So first of all, he's putting pillars near the front, pillars that have built-in LEDs, a larger crystal piece. He had us burn a larger crystal piece. We provided him with that crystal. He then puts it on a pillar, works in LED underneath. It looks beautiful. It's about 5.5 to 6 feet tall, so at about eye level, and it attracts. It's an eye catcher. It gets people to stop. And in his case, through some agreements that he has, he's able to actually have recognizable people, and so people are able to take selfies and just enjoy it. Now, when they're taking selfies, the other cool thing is that he's kind of got his company name on the crystal, so they're taking selfies, and it's also branding his shop. Okay. So that's the first thing to get them to stop. Of course, they get curious. They walk in. They want to find out more. So they come into a very inviting, warm area. He's got his, his lazy chair, call it almost, next to a fireplace.
Your choice of samples is really, really important. That could be another segment that we talk about. How to choose your samples strategically. That's a whole different subject. And I have a few of them that are of myself. Not that I'm an egomaniac, but also my family and friends. So that when someone is looking at me with my big musky catch, I can say, hey, that's me. And I'll kind of just take my mask off for a split second and say, hey, that's me with that big fish. And now we start talking about, hey, where'd you catch it? How big was it? We're not talking crystal. We're not talking money. We're talking about that memory. And that's really what this product is about. So now the conversation is just about me and my fish and the person who's interested. Or those are my children 18 years ago in that big heart. Or my best friend's son kicking the judo board, whatever it happens to be. So now we're having a conversation. So the selling begins, okay? I have one chair to sit, at my table if someone wants to, get off their feet.
The second thing that you're talking about is a story on every crystal. So when a customer is coming in, it's one thing to show them just a random crystal on display. But if you're able to build a story around that crystal and make it relatable, what happens is that now they are going to be able to connect ideas to stories that they have of their own. And if they relate enough with it, it gives them a reason to actually think about getting, perhaps you're showing your wedding day, or perhaps you're showing when your twins were born, or whatever it may be. And now all of a sudden, one of these stories in many of the crystals that are on display relate. In fact, Lawrence, you have this line where and I really like this line that you tell people is that by the time they stick around long enough, they've met your entire family.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because every crystal that not every crystal, but a lot of your crystals on display, are your family and different points of their life. But it reminds me actually of, when I put a crystal on display, I was creating something that was different. It was, I was on a little bit of a diet, and I was feeling hungry, and I was working on this project. So I thought, you know what, let me just put a 3D hamburger with fries and a Coke in a crystal. And I put the line on the bottom because I was staying away from this stuff. The closest I could get to the reality was to actually make it in 3D in a crystal. I put almost as good as the real thing. And what happens is we put it on display, and a customer, I never expected this was to fill space. And I never expected a customer would, in the first week of putting it on display, customer says, how much is it? thought of a price in my head and I doubled it. And because I wasn't expecting to sell it, I didn't have a price tag on it. And I gave him that price and he bought it and he walked away with it. So
That's cool.
If you can build a story around something, oh yeah, the key point of what I'm saying here is that when he was asking about it, I told him the story about why I created it. And so when I shared that story with him, it resonated. And for whatever reason, he, had an application for it. He bought it. Okay. So that was number 2. Number 3, and I know that we're running close on the time because we want to keep these to very, very short. So let's talk about the key point here, which is that 30-minute lineup. How do you create the 30-minute lineup, and how do you actually get them to be patient enough to wait in it to buy your product?
Great. So yeah, let's get to that. So now that I've kind of set the stage of what my store looks and feels like, the last thing from an optics perspective is a lot of my customers would come back in a week's time and pick up their orders physically from me in my store. So on good weeks, I'd have lineups of bags across the front of that fireplace. And people would see that. And that gives me and the product validation that everybody else trusted that it would be okay to come back in a week's time. So I just thought I'd mention that. People are seeing that, and that's important. So it all started with an elderly lady who came into my booth and did not have a smartphone. So she plopped 6 little pictures of her dogs, past and present, on my table and said, "Can you put all of my babies in that crystal over there?" And I said, "Yes, I can. Take a walk, have a coffee, come back in 10 minutes." So I got out my iPhone. I took a picture of each photo. My past career helped me quickly manipulate the files because I'm very good with certain tools on the computer to size and crop and position. And I created my first crystal collage of these 6 dogs. I purposely made a vertical version and a horizontal version because I wanted the customer to choose what they like best so that I could ask permission to keep the other one as a booth sample. So when someone else says, "Can you combine photos?" I have something to point at. So people are watching me do this. They're watching me take the photos. They're watching me create the collage with my customer sitting in the chair with it projected on a little screen. And we're creating this custom piece of art together. People want their turn. And others would come to me, people who aren't great with a smartphone. Again, certain generation aren't as good on smartphones, and they needed my help texting or emailing a picture to me so that we could do something right there and then, because it was a gift for someone. They didn't want to ask for help. So other people would see me helping customers with their phones and or just taking photos of photos because there weren't any digital versions. And they watched me sitting with someone and sometimes up to 1 hour. I mean, it would kill me watching people wait. And with permission, I was also delivering orders in between all those bags. And that was validating everything because I'm getting the ooh-ahs when I'm presenting, the finished product to my customers from last week, all while creating these collages. I'm starting to get a headache just thinking about how I managed all this without staff. It's only crazy November, December. But anyway, I wanted to let you interject before we run out of time. But basically, people wanted their turn to sit down and get the attention and create some custom art with me together. And that's why they were willing to wait.
So what I want our viewers, to understand here is that there's no one golden handshake. There's no one secret recipe. What Lawrence is sharing here is his experience and multiple various variables that have resulted in this demand of regular traffic, not just from one-time customers, but from ongoing customers, from repeat customers as well. So, one thing that Lawrence said here that I just want to clarify is that, he had a technical background and he creates collages for people so they're able to see this preview before they actually get their crystal. You don't need a technical background. Of course, it helps, Lawrence, but there are apps available on your phones these days to make it very simple for you to take photos from customers and in a matter of minutes, combine them into a collage and share them, okay? Or, of course, Photoshop is very easy too. There's tutorials on YouTube. We're here to assist as well. But the bottom line, I just want to make very clear, is no matter what your background, you are able to very easily accomplish what you are hearing Lawrence say. The other thing that I wanted to reiterate here is the point of the projector. So Lawrence is making it very interactive. Now think about when you're walking through a festival, okay? And you see that caricature artist doing a drawing. And how often do you actually stop to watch how accurate they are in their drawing with the person that they are drawing, right? It's just something that you're curious to see. It's entertaining to watch how it is done. When you watch a glass blower creating interesting art with that very, very hot piece of material. And in the same way, what's happening here is Lawrence is projecting his work onto the wall so that anybody walking by along the main artery of the mall is able to now see, what he is doing for this customer. So it creates a performance, and that performance is what intrigues people, is what gets people to stop. And it's what gets people to stop. But not only that, when you have people stopping around your booth, it's now all these people around your booth or around your kiosk that are attracting more people because everybody wants to know what's going on, what's the news. Exactly. The cool thing is that you're not selling used vacuum cleaners, right? You're selling something that is interesting. So you're living up to what they're hoping to see. They're hoping to see something interesting because they're seeing a crowd, they're seeing some activity going on. And of course, when they see this 3D image floating in the center of crystal where the surfaces appear completely untouched, that's where they ask how. For the last almost 20 years that I've been doing this, it's how. How do you do it? It's almost, I can say we've done surveys, over 85% of the market still doesn't even understand, doesn't even know about the product and doesn't understand how it's done. And that's what makes it so much fun. And it makes it fun to explain how it's done and the science behind it and to show videos on it as well. Okay, Lawrence, before I do a quick recap on everything that you said, was there anything else that you wanted to add to this entire experience of closing the deal?
Well, from a customer loyalty perspective, and I've got great stats with, customers buying 3, 4, 5 times over in some cases, but you get that rush of Christmas. Are they going to come back next Christmas? How do I become the go-to standard for all gifting needs, not just at Christmas? So maybe next time I can pick your brain from a customer loyalty standpoint.
Absolutely, you can, and I'll love to talk to you about that because I've got a lot of experience in terms of how to win at certain moments of truth with the customer to ensure that they remain a loyal customer for life. So that we'll park that and save that for another discussion. In terms of recapping what Lawrence has said today, a few things. Number one is when you're creating your display, remember it's always a good idea to invite them into your store. So don't keep all of your wares at the front. Keep some inside, keep it at the back, maybe a few teasers at the front, but get them to walk in because once they're into your shop, then you're pretty much 50% sold on the product, right? They've taken time to come in, you're able to have them pick up the product, interact with it, etc. The whole projector idea, showing the behind the scenes and the product reveal. So when the customer is picking up the product, revealing it in a way. You said that as you're making sales, you're also handing product over to customers. This reveal is just so powerful when you can showcase this product to a customer that has just bought, and that immediate reaction of them going, wow, oh my goodness, sometimes in tears even, picking it up, inspecting it. And when you think of the third person, okay? So put yourself in third person now. You're looking at this crystal, inspecting it as a customer, and you have other people watching that customer inspecting their product and loving it. There's nothing more powerful than closing a deal than that. That's gold. Okay.
And they start selling it to that person who's watching while I just sit back. It's great.
Exactly. All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lawrence. And remember,
my pleasure.
If you if you enjoyed this, please do provide comments to us. It always encourages and helps. Be sure to subscribe, turn notifications on so you'll know every time we release a new video or decide to go live. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.